rose family. It's one of our native plants that we really want to encourage to grow at these sites, often mistaken for maple because of its lobes, but you know that it's thimbleberry. One, because you'll find very fine spines on its stem, almost furry, and under its leaves, and it's much more textured than a maple. Also a serrated leaf edge. This will get a beautiful blossom in the early spring, and then a fruit that is why it got its name. It looks like a thimble. You pop off that pinkish red berry, and it's quite open and cupped in form. So this is one of the restoration plantings in this area. You can see by the tag on it that the restoration crew has come back in here and planted these desirable plants. Yet there's evidence that we could easily have reinvasion with plants that we don't want to have. For example, right here beneath this thimbleberry is a seedling. Here's an example of a native plant that we like to see in our plant communities, particularly in the Pacific Northwest. This is Oregon grape. It's noted from its thorny leaf edge and a little bit of a wave to its leaves. Some people confuse it with hollies, but once you get familiar with looking at it, it's pretty easy to pick out. It has a beautiful blossom and a yellow flower. Again, it was intentionally planted after this mass of undesired plants was cleared by the goats, and so very purposefully planted as part of the restoration. However, if management isn't done year after year to closely monitor what's growing and whether they are the species that we really want there, and when we say want, we mean native plants, because that is the goal for this landscape in a park setting. Here is another restoration planting as well. We can see this with its serrated leaf edge. Yet the hazard is that another plant will take advantage of this habitat, essentially, that we've provided with the stake. It's meant to be useful to the plant, but the morning glory, with its kind of heart-shaped leaf, vines very well, and it's climbed all the way to the top of this stake. So that's invasive plants are not always non-natives, but they often are, and in this case, the non-native, the undesired plant, is taking great advantage of this site. So we really keep a close eye on that kind of thing, look back several times a year to see what's happening, and decide what the next steps of management should be. So it's easy for us to think about the things that are obviously kind of nasties, undesirable plants like the Himalayan blackberry and the English ivy, because they're so widely seen all over, and at this time we don't think of them as being desired plants. Long ago they were introduced, but here is a plant that I believe is going to become more and more problematic. This is a grapevine, and as we know, Western Oregon, Washington, even parts on the east side of the Cascades, everybody's in love with the viticulture industry, and you know, wine is a wonderful product for our region, but plants out of place is one of our many definitions of a weed. So well-tended vines are a great crop. Oregon is really known for its very high quality wines and good management, but on the other hand, those berries can be eaten by animals like birds and transported to a different location, like this wooded area, and then we end up having a plant that vines up the trees and eventually can be problematic. The mass of this vegetation can weigh down on the tree if it gets icy and loaded with moisture in winter, and then we get blowdown with ivy. Don't know if that will happen with grape because it'll lose its leaves, but at any rate, there's potential for the plant to become problematic.